All right, so what we're gonna do today, we got the Carter Wise Choice. I had some issues with it, and it was out of warranty, and I'm kind of a DIY guy just by nature. So I figured, hey, let me mess around with this and see if I can figure out how to fix it, how to refurbish it, how to clean it up. So that's what I'm gonna show y'all how to do. You can probably apply this same process to most thumb button releases. They probably have a similar design. But before that, please make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this, and when you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell, okay? So here we go. Okay, so what I was having an issue with, right, I would come to full draw, and no matter what I did, right, so no matter what I did, I couldn't get this release to fire. And I thought, well, maybe my front arm was collapsing and my form was breaking down, so I'm not able to do it with actual back tension. So I tried to even just like punch it off, right, like this, and I still couldn't get it to fire. And then when I let down as the tension, as some of the, I guess some of the weight on this or some of the load on this was relieved, then the arrow would kind of just pop off the string. So then I started messing with it, and I can get it to operate in my hand. But once I came back and I was at that full draw, it would not fire no matter what. Okay, so that actually didn't happen this weekend with this one. That happened with this one back in June. So I said, you know what? I wanted a backup release anyway. So what I did was I just ordered another one. So I ordered this one. It came in black. And I said, I'll just send this one in the Carter. I never really got it refurbished, just kept putting it off. But then the same exact thing that happened to this one happened to this black Carter release this past Saturday. So you know what? I opened it up, took a look at it, and saw that it was super dirty. I just hadn't ever opened it up to maintain it. And I couldn't find a video on how to do it, so here you go today. So here in front of you is basically everything that I used to clean up my release. So I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna show you how to do it so you can have a nice step-by-step on what you need to do so you don't have to struggle with it like I did, and then you don't have to worry about sending it there and sending it back. All right, so you got 3 Allen screws here. You got one here, and one here. I believe the size that you're gonna need is a 3/32, and just back them all the way out. I did find some instructions on Carter's website, and it notes on those instructions that if you open this up, it voids your warranty. So keep that in mind. This red one is out of the warranty timeline. So if I figured if I messed it up too much anyway, I would still have to pay the 15 bucks for Carter. Well, total of 30, right? I think it's like 15 for them to fix, and then $15 for the shipping, I believe they charge. So the instructions tell you to take these back these all the way out, and then put them back in a quarter turn. So I apologize if you can't see some of these things because my hand's in the way. But all right, so now it's back in a quarter turn. You're actually gonna have to pull the thumb button off. And really, you maybe want to start with that step first. Immediately after I pull the thumb button off, just some good maintenance practices is to go ahead and secure this screw. Just go ahead and fasten it to the thumb button. Then I like to always have a plastic bag. All right, so the next step you're gonna do, those 3 Allen head screws that you backed off all the way and then turned back in 1/4 turn, I want you to turn it over, and then I want you to give it a good smack on a hard surface. And what you'll see is now it's separated this. So that bag that you have I want you to take that bag. I want you to put the release in the bag with the screws up. This is actually pretty important, right? So actually, before that, now that you've created some separation here, go ahead and remove those 3 screws real quick. So 1, 2, and 3. This is really easy, folks. I'll take all 3 of these, throw it in my plastic bag. Last thing I want to do is spend a bunch of time looking for this stuff. So when you fully separate this release, do it in the bag, because there are 3 springs in here. And that way, if these springs decide to pop out, at least they pop out in this bag, okay? So I'll try to, hopefully you can see through this bag. So here's 1 spring, okay? This is actually where you actually set the release. You push this button down here. There's another spring here. Let's turn it so you can see. 1 spring here. And then actually back here, where you set the tension for your thumb button, back in here, there's another spring, okay? So I apologize if this is a little difficult to see. What I'm gonna do is bring it out of the bag once I get these springs secured. One. 2. Okay, so that other spring that I was telling you about, it's down in here. Now, actually what I want you to do, I want you to get on the phone, call Carter Release, and what they'll do is they'll actually send you a spring kit. So go ahead, if you're gonna open this up, go ahead and order brand new fresh springs, and go ahead and install those into your release. So I'll just pull this on out. So just start with this first half. I wish I could have done this real time for y'all so y'all can see how much of that Hawaiian red dirt that's out here that was actually balled up in here. I'm just gonna take a little bit of water from my hydro flask. I don't need a whole lot. And I'm just going through here with a Q-tip. And I'm just cleaning it out. Okay, do that with the whole thing. There are these little holes in here. Let me show you. So there are these little pins, these little guide pins in here. Don't lose them, they'll come out, right? Literally just set that so they'll rest in these little circles. Hopefully you all can see that. But those little circles down in here that the pins are gonna sit in, I need you all to make sure you get your Q-tip or something small and just clean the dirt out of them, because these little pins are gonna pivot in there, and you want smooth operation in there. Now, what I used was a little bit of bowstring wax. I'm talking just barely a little bit of bowstring wax. Put some on my fingers, put it on here, just to make this operate a little bit more smoothly. You can do that if you want. Just for me, that makes sense, okay? So now that you have your new springs from Carter Releases, go ahead and install them. So you're gonna put this one. So that one's gonna go in there, and your thumb barrel, as you turn this Allen, it'll compress that spring more, and you can make basically, it'll require more pressure on your thumb for this mechanism to fire, the more you turn in this Allen head here. So that spring's back in there. So the pin. All right, so this down here is where your actual thumb barrel is gonna go. This hole up here is where the pin is gonna go. All right. All right, so next I'm gonna install this here. This is the button that you're pushing to actually get the mouth of the part that clamps onto your D-loop. When you press this in, this actually engages that mouth to close. All right. So far, I got the thumb button mechanism, the activation trigger in. There's a spring that I need to install here. So this is where it could all go wrong right here, is if this spring here if I make this spring pop out. So I'm gonna be ginger with that. So basically what would happen is this mechanism, this is your thumb button. Once that releases, yeah. So now it's compressed. I don't want to leave it in this position. If you leave this spring in this position while it's taken apart right now, you kind of run the risk of, if this actually activates, your spring is going to go flying. So leave that nice and free. So here is your third and final spring. Okay. So this third and final spring, it is your skinniest spring, is going to go here, right in the front of there. Take that last pin that you should have. Actually, I'm going to do this. All right, so I'm going to compress this trigger to move. I'm going to compress this trigger to move this out of the way so that I can get this to slide back, and then I can get this spring to actually set against the housing of this release. All right, so now I got 2 springs under load. So you want to keep those secure, because if this pops out at this point, this is where your springs are probably gonna go flying. Trying to keep this in frame for y'all. So now I'm just lining this back up. Boom. So you want to test your operation here. Everything's closed up. The thumb barrel is still off. So we see that it engages. Now what I'm going to do is try to fire it. It operated correctly. So now those 3 Allen head screws that I removed previously, we're going to go ahead and put those back together. Grab your 3/32 Allen wrench and just go ahead and throw these back in there. You survived. Your springs aren't all over the floor. You did this step by step. Your release is nice and refurbished with brand new springs. It's nice and clean in there. You can feel very, very confident now in your release. Now, all right. The wind might have just got us. Yeah, I think when that wind blew this bag, because it got nice and light, there's one. I don't think I have good. Ooh. Oh, nope, we're good. It's still in the bag. That, my friends, is why you do these simple disciplines. Put all your fasteners, all your screws, all your nuts in the bag, because it will save you. In the Navy, we call those maintenance practices. Easy day. Look at that. Just saved you a week and a half of postal time, right? So boom, it fires. Good to go. Last and final step. Throw this barrel on here with this crush washer, which isn't very good. This crush washer should help this not rotate on you, but it always does. Do this by hand first. Get it set where you like it. My Sharpie is wearing off on there, but I do have marks on here so I can align it back to where I like it every time. Get that nice and tight. Let's see. All right, so one thing I forgot to tell y'all about in the video, unless Chris splices this in somewhere, is all those little pins that were holding like the trigger in place and all the different components in place. I actually took this, wetted a little bit, and just lightly, very lightly knocked off that surface dust and that little bit of corrosion that had built up over time. Here in Hawaii, I don't know if y'all hunt in similar places, but it rains. I would say if I'm pig hunting, I probably get rained on, right? Which means my release is getting rained on. So you want to open that up, and I just knocked that little surface layer off. And then, like I said, I threw the bowstring wax on there, just a very light protective layer. I believe the instructions say you can even use maybe like some WD-40. But that's it. Go ahead and make sure. I wouldn't use sandpaper. I don't use anything that is going to affect the tolerances of those pins. They engineered them to certain tolerances for a reason, so you don't go and mess those up by using something too abrasive. But this was plenty enough to get it nice and clean, so everything is operating perfectly and smoothly, so you can get that nice crisp release that you're used to having from Carter. All right, thanks. After you've put your release back together, when you draw, please make sure you're like, I have this away from my face, just in case you did something wrong, right? Draw away from your face. Last thing you want to do is you put this together wrong and you punch yourself in the mouth, because then you're probably gonna unsubscribe from the channel. All right. I couldn't see what I was necessarily doing there, but just an operational test, right? Please, just like when you get a new D-loop, before you really trust that D-loop, well, really your mechanics should have you drawing away from your mouth. So you shouldn't, if your D-loop breaks, there should be no knocking your tooth out if you're drawing correctly. So that's it. All right, here we go, folks. A complete disassembly, cleaning, replacing of all the springs, reassembly of a Carter Wise Choice. I believe you can take these same processes and apply it to a range of their thumb buttons and maybe even to other brands. Hey, if you like this video, do me a favor, comment, like, share, and subscribe. We thank y'all. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you share it to your friends. If you don't know how to spell it, it's Privileged. I know you know how to spell Bowhunter. We love y'all. Peace.